A voice to be heard, rooted in the Lord's word. It is a voice that's concerned for the world. A voice to be heard, rooted in the Lord's word. It is a voice that's concerned for the world.
Good morning, and I want to welcome you to A Voice to Be Heard radio talk show. I want to thank my listening audience for tuning in this morning to the Love Network studio. And we're excited. You know, it's the month of November. Feels like, we're still in the middle of summer, but we've had some strange days, highs and lows, and, the temperature just can't seem to get adjusted, but, that's sort of the way life is right now, too. We've made it through the election, and, we're off to some new beginnings. A lot's going on in our world today, right? But we want to just encourage you to stay strong, stay positive. I'm actually wearing my Good Vibes t-shirt today because actually, that's the energy that we want to emit, that frequency of good vibes no matter what we're enduring in life, how we feel. We want to keep a good vibe and be, personable and positive, because what we release is what we attract back to us. So I'm so excited today, as I had mentioned in previous Facebook posts, that we were going to be honoring veterans this month. Thanksgiving is a huge time, and in the world today, we all can find something in the midst of change that we can be thankful for. But, truly, Holy Spirit put it on my heart to honor veterans, honor men and women who have sacrificed their lives, who've lived a legacy, left a legacy, and had a journey so that others can know of their accomplishments and the things that, they have left behind for family, for future, and for people to know that the sacrifice had a cause. So I'm excited today, and I just want to remind you that A Voice to Be Heard is being brought to you by Elder Up Transportation Services of the Triad. Of course, we are your premier transportation service, servicing the aging adults and seniors in our community and around about. And also, I'm going to let you know that we got a special guest in the studio, and we're honored to have them honoring and sponsoring this opportunity for the veterans that have served. And we're going to be honoring a very special veteran today. I'm excited about that. So take a listen, and we're going to come back with that sponsorship information to this song. And it's by Black Violin, some young men that I actually learned about during the COVID time. Just a little bit to get you prepared for the beautiful story we're going to share with you today. Take a listen.
We will get stronger. We are not scared. We will last longer. We are not scared. We are not scared. Oh, every journey, every goal. Which path will you choose?
right. As the song says, we will get stronger. No doubt about that. You know, there's an old saying, all that doesn't kill us will make us stronger. And that's truth, you know. Strength does rise as we wait on the Lord, because there are many situations in the world today that we simply have got to wait and play things out. So I feel honored today to have in the studio with me Mr. James Garner Jr. and the Garner Realty Firms, who he is and what he does, but he's actually honoring the memory of his father, and that is James Bunk Garner Sr. And we're going to learn a phenomenal story. We're going to start the story today. There's no way we can tell of all the accolades and the accomplishments that this gentleman did in his life, but how he served God, his family, and community, and our country is truly amazing. So, James, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Robin. It's good to be here on a Saturday morning.
I'm telling you, what a blessing, right? To be in the land of the living.
Oh, yeah, for
right?
sure.
I'm telling you.
Sure.
And it's such a blessing. We have got some of the honorary documentary and medals and things that James's father earned. Guys, I wish you could see this. Take a look at the Facebook page for A Voice to Be Heard, my page, Robin Chavez, or you can even check out James's page and see the medals and how the family has honored him and honored the accomplishments that he had. So, you know, I'm going to let you open it up and tell us where your father's life began as a child. What kind of environment did he grow up in?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I appreciate you inviting me on the show.
Well, thank you.
I know we've known each other for quite a number of years.
Yes.
And I don't know what put it in your heart to contact me about, doing a program about veterans and including my father. But thank you so much for that.
Well, I want to comment and tell you what it was honestly Holy Spirit spoke to me, because I watched your Facebook page. Gotcha. Being in a business where I try to honor, aging adults and seniors, I saw not only the love and compassion that you had for your father, but I saw a servant's heart. Sure. And I know that came from your father. You know the fruit don't fall far from the tree. And I know your heart to help people. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm so excited. We're going to share about that root and the fruit of it, your father's legacy today. Okay.
Well, I'm going to try to get through this without getting emotional, first of all.
Hey, we cry all the time on A Voice to Be Heard. It's for
real. My father was born into a family with 7 sisters.
Wow, okay.
He was the youngest of 7 sisters.
Okay.
And initially starting out, it was his mother and his father, of course. Mm-hmm. And he was born in 3/23/33.
Okay.
I would never forget. Wow. I would never forget that day. Well, I'm sorry, 3/23. Yeah, 33.
33. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why I know that date so well is because of all the threes. But not only that, I became my father's caregiver probably going on about 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And what I mean by that, he often needed to go to the Veterans Administration and doctors and whatnot, and I was kind of elected in the family to be the one to do that. So,
okay.
But definitely during that time, brought up in a very challenging condition, and I'm going by some things, of course, that was told to me by him and the family and others, because I wasn't even a gleam in his eye at that point.
Yeah.
But so we're talking about the 30s. We're talking about poverty.
Yeah.
And he grew up in an area that he used to refer to as Fallen Street, and he said it was the poorest neighborhood in the city.
Mm-hmm. Was that Winston-Salem?
In Winston-Salem.
Okay.
And where that is now, it is essentially what we found out. Where the East Winston Shopping Center is, okay. That is essentially in the middle of the neighborhood that he grew up in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's you can go by there and see the dirt, but of course that neighborhood has been long gone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what I've been told is my grandmother, she was from a rural county out near Fayetteville.
Okay.
And my grandfather was essentially from near the same place.
Okay.
And they came up, back then, Winston-Salem was the big city.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, to make a better life for themselves. And the relationship, maybe because of the tough times or what have you, ended up not working out. But it was 8 siblings from that union.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And the way my father tells it is that one day my grandfather, and his name was Lonnie, went out to go provide some provisions for the family, and never came back.
Never came back.
Yeah, so.
I think that was a common story amongst, some men back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so, I honestly, even though he was the youngest, I think that my dad, and I think this speaks to why he became the person that he did, because he was given a heavy burden and a lot of adversity very, very young.
I guess so.
And he, as being the youngest boy, essentially kind of became the man of the house figure. Although I'm sure his sisters had a lot to say about that,
and some influence, right?
Yeah, and probably quite a bit of beatdowns as well.
Exactly.
So some things that I've heard from the family and friends of the family is that my father was very, very close to his mother, very, very protective of his mother and his sisters, and immediately at a very, very young age, essentially, started have to be responsible for some things that his father was not able to provide, or was not willing to provide. So he had told me that there was a goat farm somewhere, and he helped raise goats.
Okay.
And he told me that that the goats were some of his earliest and best friends.
All right.
Just several things that he would tell me about. But he also told me about, and this is something that was special and kind of a turning point in his life, is that Reynolds Park Golf Course, which is still here and still active, it's a golf course. Another one of his first jobs was he became a caddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
that's awesome. He learned some things out there with those men, I'm sure.
Yeah. He did. And so he would do caddying and odd jobs around the golf course. And you will see why it becomes very more important later on in the story. But so some of the things that he said that you should do was clean golf clubs. That's part of what caddies do. Okay. But and he taught me this as well. They would also go around the golf course and find lost golf balls, clean them up, and sell them back to the golfers. So I mean, so
he had a hustle.
already from goats to caddying to finding golf balls and selling them. So that was just what he had to do. But I've always been told that getting back to the servant's heart is that in doing this, he was always just a very, very likable and gracious guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been told that by numerous people.
Wow.
And so he went to Atkins High School, which is historic African American high school in Winston-Salem. And as far as I can tell, excelled, was very, very smart in high school, according to him. Okay.
He got it the best he could, right?
Yeah. My mother and him go back about that, because that's where he met her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was in high school. So they essentially were high school sweethearts. From what I've been told, he was definitely felt like that she was not going to be very accepting of him because he came from a really, really humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And contrarily, my mother came from a 2-parent household.
Okay.
And, my grandfather from my mother's side was a baker by trade. He had a cafe. So I think my dad was kind of hesitant and reluctant, but thank God he got enough nerve to be able to approach her.
Right.
And, because I'm sure that was tough.
I'm sure it was, but, I'm sitting and listening, I'm thinking, but the training of all them sisters, though. He knew a woman, you know what I'm saying? And probably knew how to get to a woman.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he was never one lacking in confidence. That's for sure.
Good.
So,
that's good. Yeah.
But so at some point in time, though, and it was based on what he told me. The military was on his radar, and at that time, the war that was going on or started to bubble up, because they initially didn't call it a war. At first, was called the Korean conflict.
Okay.
So my dad, as my sisters, not my sisters, as his sisters, began to get older, because he was the youngest. He was kind of left there with with my grandmother. And so one of the ways that he felt like that he could better help take care of her was essentially join the military. And he said, well, I can join the military. They feed us.
Yeah.
And I don't do much.
He's right?
always been a make-away type. He was like, I'll join the military and just send my whole check back to my mother, because I'm going to be taken care of. And that's essentially what he did. He did that at 19 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, hindsight being 2020, if he really knew what he was getting himself into.
Probably not.
No.
Right?
Because, the service at that time was reflective of, that time. And from, what I'm understanding from him, they were not given the best of provisions, to operate within the military.
Right.
A lot of times they were given, insurmountable tasks with not a lot of resources.
Wow.
And again, I think that kind of speaks to just his resilience and to be honest with you, resilience of people from that time period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did the best they could with what they had and could understand at that time. Yeah. So I don't have the exact date, but literally within a year or a year and a half of him joining the military, he actually became one of the first African American Rangers. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that was something that I found out very later on. I don't even know that he even knew that he was one of the first African American Rangers.
Really?
Yeah, because the military was so segregated at that time. The Rangers were thought to be, an elite, military group, and they just didn't allow African Americans to intermix with other soldiers that were in these elite groups who were,
they were acknowledged for their accomplishments, not the African American soldiers.
Yeah. So what they did was, I think that the African American soldiers and leadership within the armed forces was like, okay, well, you know what, we'll allow you in these groups, but you'll be separate.
I see.
So he was one of the first to be in one of the all African American Ranger units.
Okay, and so was that what What area of service was that? Was it?
It's the Army.
Army. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. And so he got enlisted, but where did they send him to once he was enlisted?
He went to several. I actually pulled his records, his Army records,
Okay.
and I was able to trace all the bases that he went to.
Wow.
So he went to Bragg. He went to
Okay.
I think it's Fort Benning in Kentucky.
Okay.
And then he also went to there was a base in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
It's either Seattle or Tacoma.
Gotcha.
And that's where his transport went from there to Korea.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's something. It looks like he had quite a journey.
He did, and it was, since we're talking about veteran, I'm gonna get off topic just for a second here.
Okay.
But if there's anybody out there listening, I employ them to request their ancestors, their mothers, fathers, uncles, their family members,
Okay.
deceased or not, to request their military records.
Okay.
That is, it takes a while. It took me a year to get all of his.
Wow.
But you can request DD 214s, which is basically your certification that you were in the military. And you even need that to get a VA loan, but we'll talk about all that later in the next segment.
Yeah.
But get those records. So whoever's out there listening, especially if they have service members that are still living, you just need their information. You don't even need their permission.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could go. It's the military archives. There's a website, and you can request it.
Okay.
And once you get it, hey, that's something that you could provide them that they may not have.
Wow.
and get them to, have something they can look back over and give you their story, because a lot of our service members, especially those that were not treated right.
Yes.
During that time period, they're kind of quiet about their stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they probably feel like, to them it matters because it was sacrificial for their lives and for provision for family, like in the case of your father.
Yeah.
But, it's one of the things where I feel like God put it on my heart. Honor these people, these men and women, because they have served.
For sure.
And some of them, like, your father has left a legacy that we really don't even know about.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that information, because as we're talking about this, it makes me think I've got 2 deceased uncles that served and one that's still living. I'm going to take the time out myself to do the research.
It will basically give you a roadmap of their military service, and you'll see dates that they did certain things. And again, it may be something that you have no idea about, but you could give it to them and show them that you care, you're honoring them, and not only that, you can share with younger generations and families.
That's exactly what I want to do with
so
it.
they'll have a sense of pride about what people did in their family that came before them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But during his military service, he what happened essentially is he was doing one of the, I guess what you would call combat. I don't know what you call it, but doing one of the combat episodes,
assignments or
there were 2 gentlemen, and this happened at the same time.
Okay.
Essentially, were swimming in a river.
Okay.
And they were getting cleaned up after what was essentially had been, I guess you call a firefight. That's what I want to call it.
Okay.
So now we got to think about the time.
Wow.
This is Korea.
Yeah.
We're going back to the 40s, 50s, what have you. There's this is hand-to-hand combat. This is not fighting with drones.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So what was told to me is that after one of these firefights, they were trying to have a little bit of leisure and clean themselves up in the river. And the terrain and the rivers are very, very, from what I heard, it's rough terrain.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these guys were out in the river, and my dad was also a lifeguard when he was young.
Okay.
And he noticed, just because of his lifeguard training, he noticed that one of the men was struggling.
Okay.
And I think another man was trying to help him.
Okay.
And both of them started struggling.
Wow.
And essentially, right after, again, they had a firefight. He took it upon himself, and his lifeguard skills just clicked in, and he went and saved both of them.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there'll be a picture that we can show people who are trying to follow the story, but he actually won 2 Purple Hearts.
Oh, wow.
For saving those men's lives.
So that is notated in his history that you were able to get.
That's in his records that I pulled. Now, he was not awarded those Purple Hearts again during that time period immediately. There had to be research and paperwork and eyewitness accounts. And again, we're talking about a different time, and they didn't take those exploits as serious.
I got you, as they do today, right?
Yeah. And not only that, but with it being an African American, it was just like, oh, we'll get to it when we get to it. But he's always been blessed, and some way, somehow, they got it pushed through.
Wow.
Also, he was gravely injured.
Okay.
Doing a firefight. And what happened with that is he was hit by what he told me is what is called a mortar round.
Now that sounds dangerous.
Yeah. And this was after the thing with the 2 men that were drowning.
Okay.
But that actually ended his military service.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was essentially almost fatally wounded.
Oh, wow!
And literally fatally wounded, because I'll tell you what happened is he was in such bad condition that they left him on the battlefield for dead.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, they left him on the battlefield for dead. And so the North Koreans, when they found him on the battlefield, the North Koreans were who the U.S. was fighting against. They felt that he was not even that he was gone so bad that they didn't even really want to waste ammunition on him.
And that was God looking out for him, right?
Yeah. So
ammunition
for them, unlike the U.S., was critical. We could essentially make as much ammunition as we needed.
Right.
But with North Korea essentially being in a third world state, they couldn't.
That makes sense. Okay.
So when they left him on, this is crazy what I'm about to tell you. So when they left him on the battlefield for dead, or to die.
To die, yeah.
You could literally see in his side.
Wow.
They stuck him with bayonets.
Ooh, almost like when Jesus was pierced.
Yeah, they stuck him with bayonets, and he was again so far gone that he didn't react to it. Yeah, and war is war.
It sure is.
So as long as you're not a threat, they're not going to waste any ammunition on you. And to a certain extent, it's kind of sadistic. They're like, okay, well, we're not even. You can suffer till you die.
Right. They didn't care.
Yeah, they didn't care. So, but somehow, by the grace of God, he was found later by U.S. troops.
Wow.
And they literally were picking up dead bodies, off of the battlefield, and when they went to approach him, they found out somebody was like, "Yo, this guy's still alive."
Wow.
They rushed him to triage surgery, where they had to amputate his leg.
Okay.
He lost partial ability of his left arm, and he had to have skin grafts done all over his body. But they stabilized him
right
in the field, and they essentially got him stable enough to be sent to a medevac unit, and even more stable. And essentially, he ended up in Walter Reed Hospital in D.C. So that's so his military service. To recap right quick which was not very long at all. It was right at 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, he saved 2 lives and got wounded on the battlefield, and was left for dead on the battlefield. And from there, he went to Walter Reed Hospital, and he had to stay there for several months. So
I'm sure.
And what I've been told by the family, and they said they knew something was wrong, because for whatever reason they could feel it.
Wow.
And there was just the news of his movements and where he were. It just was not coming as frequent.
Wow. So there was some downtime because he had been wounded.
Yeah. So for about, and he was probably a bit incapacitated, not able to have movement or full control of his arms and whatnot. So I think he probably was missing from the family for about 6 months or so. And the next thing that they heard, he was in Walter Reed Hospital.
That's amazing, because now we look at that and just think about, that was divine intervention.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. But his time served had great purpose. Because he saved 2 other lives. And then to think about the state of mind that he was in and what he incurred from time of being found to being, sent into the hospital and that recovery, that was major trauma there.
Yeah.
Major trauma. Yeah.
So, and that's where, and Walter Reed is where he connected with his childhood sweetheart.
Really?
Yeah, she heard they had stayed in contact, and I'm sure she was on pins and needles. But she heard that he had been wounded, and my mom went to Walter Reed and helped nurse him back and take care of him.
Oh, that's an amazing love story.
Yeah, and it is. So I can't imagine his sisters, his mother, and my mother not knowing where somebody's at after they'd gone off the war for 6 months. I just can't even imagine. Yeah,
I'm sure there was an emptiness.
Yeah,
a void there that.
And just the stress of it all.
Oh yeah. But it sounds like to me that there had to be some prayer in this family, because he was covered and protected all along.
It was my grandmother. Yeah, she did. We could do a whole nother segment on her raising 8 kids by herself. Yeah,
that's something. And 7 girls
and 1 boy.
That's a challenge right there.
She even adopted.
Really?
Yeah, she even adopted a distant nephew and a couple other people that she took care of.
Wow.
A special needs uncle. It just went on and on. Yeah, so
talk about it. See, servanthood is all in your bloodline.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah. So, and again, we're saying the same thing. I'm sure every ounce of what he put out there, it came from his mother.
I'm sure. Yeah. I listened at, and as you were starting the story, just listening at his foundation. He was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He really was, and he was being groomed for life. And look how he gave back. What better gift is there to give other than service, but to save a life?
Yeah.
And in this case too.
Yeah.
And it could have been that those seeds he planted with those gentlemen is what came back and kept him.
Yeah.
So tell us now, he's reunited with his sweetheart. What happened?
So, my dad's, I look at it as his pre-military service, his military service, and his post-military service.
I got you.
And I, to be very honest with you, they are all equally amazing to me. His military service, of course, is off the charts. It's almost, reading like a superhero novel or something.
That's amazing.
But when he came back, I think that they told my dad that he was not going to be able to be much, to be honest with you.
Really?
I think he told me that they told him, hey, you got paralysis in one of your arms, you have an above the knee amputation, which is significantly different than a below the knee amputation. Okay. It makes you a lot more unstable to have an above the knee amputation. And essentially it was like, we have a job for people like you. And you probably can already imagine from things that I told you, my dad was like, no you don't, I'm not doing that.
Exactly, I don't blame him.
And what he basically told me, I think it was a pencil factory or something, and it was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And so he started his employment with the city of Winston-Salem.
Okay.
And what he did there was he went into Parks and Recreation. One of his first jobs there was the game warden for Winston Lake.
Really?
Yeah. So he did that for several years. Again, legend has it, was amazing at that job.
I'm sure.
Everybody liked him, and he assumed, got promoted up. Now, my dad, when he was a caddy, always loved golf. He fell in love with the game.
Okay.
And he used to sneak on the golf course anytime he could.
Really?
To play golf. And if they caught you out there, of course, they ran you off, because during that time it was
the prime time for people to be.
No, it was
predominantly.
Not predominantly. It was segregated.
Okay.
No white people could.
Okay.
They didn't own whites only, so to speak. So again, we're going back to the 30s.
I got you.
And but anyway, he said he fell in love with it. He always loved the game, and he comes back and he is game warden out in Winston Lake, and a position became available to essentially run Winston Lake Golf Course.
Okay, all
right.
right.
I don't know if it was officially, but unofficially, that was the course where if you were black, you went to play.
You went to play.
Yeah. So he became employed there as the assistant pro.
Okay.
And again, legendary stories about everything that he did as the assistant golf pro there. And was there for several years. Started some tournaments, youth golf clinics, all of that while he was there. And then he essentially moved from there and started to become a director over several of the rec centers, and that was kind of his final stop there. And again, started doing that. He was basically given a task to either try to help recover centers that were failing, or put in places where he would be tasked with, getting a new center up and running. And so he, during his tenure doing that, he probably went to maybe through 5 or 6 centers.
Throughout Forsyth County?
Throughout Forsyth County, yeah. So he essentially ended up, his last center was Reynolds Park.
Okay.
Which was in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Okay.
And so he ran that center until he retired.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just
now here's the full circle with the golf thing. So when he was the center director at Reynolds Park, which now the gymnasium in the Reynolds Park Rec is named after my father.
Oh, how honorary is that?
Yeah, and that was something that was put in place by the city.
Okay.
Just to honor his his legacy and all that he did. As a center director, had nothing to do with his military service.
Isn't that amazing? Do you have that article by chance?
I do.
Okay. All right.
So, but when he was there, he implemented several programs for kids. He started a boxing center there. He also, because the golf course that he used to get run off from is right across the street.
It sure is. Wow.
So he went over to Reynolds Park Golf Course and said, "Hey, you know what? I used to caddy at this course, and I used to be run off. But what I would like to do is two things. I would like to first start a youth golf camp, especially for my African American kids.
Okay.
Introducing them to the game. But he also started a hospice tournament.
Really?
Ran the hospice tournament. I'm telling you, it goes on and on.
I hear that old song, that old R&B song, "Ain't No Stopping Us Now, We on the Move."
Yeah, so
man,
he established a golf camp there, and he established a hospice benefit tournament that ran at that golf course for 10 years, and they raised thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And they asked him, I said, well, what was your motivating factor for starting this hospice tournament? And he said he never forgot how well hospice had treated his mother when she passed. So this is all really connected, It's
just an amazing story. I'm sitting here listening, and I'm thinking about, here's a man that society, labeled him a certain way and said, "No, you're not going to do."
Yeah.
And he just let that go. They said it, and it went over his head and on out the window.
Yeah.
And he just said, "Okay, I'm going on with life."
Exactly what
he didn't even let what was potentially a handicap stop him. He just kept achieving and kept achieving. And the other thing that I really see in this is that he had the favor of God over his life.
Always. And I say, and we're going to touch base on a couple more. He really needs a book.
Well, you need to write it.
He really does. Yeah.
We can help you do that in an audio book. That would be great.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
I wish, and we probably have some old recordings of him somewhere around. So.
Oh, that would be fabulous. Of his voice and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My phone is full.
Oh, that's wonderful,
and
James.
my phone is full of a lot of that, and there's some other family members that have kept some things, but there's some interviews of him.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But I can't remember whether this happened prior to him retiring or this happened after he retired, but just to show again how blessed he is and how interconnected he is. Oh, you know what? I forgot one other story.
Okay.
So when he was with the Parks and Recreation, he used to go to a bunch of the games, and one of the things he used to always like to go to is softball games as well. But at one of the softball games, and I was there. I was young; I didn't have any idea what was going on. But there was a man that essentially started to have a seizure.
Okay.
And it was life-threatening because he was trying to swallow his tongue. And Dad found out what was happening, didn't have any training whatsoever. And essentially did everything wrong, but it turned out the right way. Got to him. Got into his mouth some type of way, and restrained his tongue,
Wow.
Until the medics came up. And and so when they got there, they said, we got it. And they said, my dad said, well, thank God, because I was about to lose my finger. And he didn't say I was about to lose my. Thank God, I was about to lose my.
Yeah, I got you. He put some graphics in there, all right?
And so again, they knew him, and they said, Bunk, you saved this guy, but you did exactly what you're not supposed to do, because that's what will happen. You will lose your finger.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, that was the story. So that's the story. So that's officially that's 3 lives right there.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
He just really had no fear. That's what we need in the world today. We need people that will react.
Yeah.
He laid aside himself many a times.
And you know what? I know my dad. He's so humble, and it's probably here's what the fear that my dad had. The fear that my dad had was not doing anything.
Oh wow!
That was the fear.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So I didn't get it till later, but it's obvious to me now.
Yeah. Reflecting back.
Yeah, that was his fear.
Yeah.
Not doing anything. Not being able to help and not being able to make an impact. So.
If you think about that in comparison to our world today, it's really sad in some generations, and I'm just not even calling out just the African American race, because we're seeing it across the board. Young men don't have the tenacity and the thought process to be willing to step out there to be courageous in so many of these avenues that your father did.
Yeah, and I think there's everybody has this, but I think there's an exceptional fear of failure and what we're gonna call just backlash, my dad was given hand-me-downs from his sisters to wear to school. So when you come from those type of beginnings, the last thing you think about is, especially as you get older, is what somebody thinks about you.
Yeah, that's right. You really don't. It doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah. So kind of pick back up, because again, I could just go on and on about things that I've heard. I'm skipping over a lot.
I understand.
So now I wanted to hit the high points, and especially those that are associated with his military service. So I cannot remember, Robin. I wish I could, and I should be able to. But here again was things kind of coming full circle and falling in place for him. So it was found out that he had acquired the 2 Purple Hearts.
Okay.
And him being left on the battlefield, and essentially, almost giving his life, because what he told me was that he remembers when he was on the battlefield, he remembers transitioning.
Really?
Yeah, he said he remembers going to another place.
Wow.
And I've heard it described by people who that this has happened to before, and it sounds so similar. He said he remembered just having an overwhelming sense of calm that he never has ever felt in his life. He had no fear, he had no pain, and he just really remembered essentially hovering over himself.
Wow.
And just being able to look down and see what was happening to him, but no fear, no anxiety whatsoever. And he said for whatever reason, when he was accepting of death and what happened to him, what was happening to him, that whatever process was taking in place, essentially it came to him that, it's not time for you. We don't want you now.
Ooh, I tell you what, and see, James, this is important. This show is faith-based, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there's not been a guest on here yet that the Holy Spirit didn't speak to me and say, go to that person, right? Or in some capacity, the lady most recently came to me, but in the conversation, I knew that her story had to be told.
Yeah.
And so you don't know this, but almost every interview on here, people have had some type of supernatural encounter. Some of them have passed away, been in a coma. I mean, it's been some type of adversity that they've overcome. And listen, we're here with your dad. It's been story after story after story of adversity, but he overcame it all.
Oh, for sure.
And I mean, his life has left such a glory presence that, you know, the legacy will live on forever.
Yeah.
You know?
And I got a surprise for you.
Okay.
All right. Got 2 more surprises for you. We can't talk all day.
No, our time is winding down here, but we're going to be talking again next week.
All right. Well, let me try to at least finish up here and cover this real quick. So,
okay.
Once it was found out by his military service, you remember Mel Watt?
Yes.
He found out about it.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly who brought it to him. And when he found out about my dad's story, I think Mel was congressman at the time. He essentially was like, no, this man needs to be honored on another level.
Okay.
So he put forth a congressional, I want to say, proclamation or decree. Okay. For him to win the Soldier's Medal.
Wow.
So about 40 years after his heroics and his service in Korea, by congressional appointment, he was awarded the service. He was awarded the Soldier's Medal. So,
I gotcha.
Yeah. And the last thing, this is just been recent. So, my dad passed 5 months ago.
Okay.
So before he passed, and I had no idea this had happened, and this just happened within the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
My father had met a military chaplain, and the military chaplain said that my father told him and said, you know, there's a reason for me meeting you. You're going to be a blessing to me. Wow. And the chaplain said, okay. And so he said, when he said that, he said, I just couldn't let it go. And I heard some things about your father, because at the time my father was, I think he was at the VA or somewhere like this.
I gotcha.
And he started to research my dad's story and whatnot. And he wrote a letter to President Obama.
Okay.
And said, I want you to know the story of a African American veteran that you know, that I think, you know, again, we need to
acknowledge
honor him,
yes, an honor, yes,
on another level. And he said his goal was to get him reviewed for congressional.
Okay.
Which is the highest military honor.
Okay.
I don't think that he met the criteria, because most congressional medal honorees actually die in combat.
Wow. Okay.
So,
yeah.
And I don't know this chapter and verse because I'm not military. But what happened, and we just found this out, is that the Obama administration sent the information over to the African American History, the Smithsonian African American History Museum in D.C.
Okay.
So, again, we know who took over after Obama left. All of this kind of got red tape somehow.
Okay.
Fell off the radar. But this chaplain finally got a response back. Okay. And so now there's a possibility that he may be honored in the African American History Museum in D.C.
Wow.
And we just found this out since you and I
connected.
I just found this out since you and I connected.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is, even, you know, just the thought of it is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I can't wait to hear what the end of that will be.
You'd be one of the first to know. So they've sent us an application. Okay. To put everything together and send it to them for their review. So,
well, fantastic. And see, that's why we're taking the time out. And again, I'm the host. Mm-hmm. God said these men and these people need to be honored.
Sure.
Because if we don't put it out there, no one knows. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if nothing else, is to encourage, your family bloodline, but also young people out there trying to accomplish stuff.
Yeah. And
so we're going to have to wrap things up today.
Okay.
And it's okay though, because we're coming back next week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we're gonna have to tell any more great highlights, but that there's some things I know you want to do as we come back next week to tell veterans about resources and things that are available to help them today.
Oh, for sure. They've missed out on so much. It's enough of that. They need to get everything that they deserve. Yeah.
Well, we do appreciate you listening, audience. I know you've been blessed because I feel enlightened here today and educated, and you can hear that beautiful song playing in the background. Wake up, everybody. If nothing else, listen at the story, the legacy that this gentleman has left, and it's time for us to wake up. And I just want to say we really thank you for being here today, James. Look forward to continuing the story next week, right?
It's my pleasure.
And just want to tell the listening audience, thank you for being with us on Love Radio Network here for A Voice to Be Heard.
There is so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up all you teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. Cause they're the ones who's coming up and the world is in their hands. So when you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. World won't get no better. Yeah. If you just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. For you and me. For you and me. For you and me, for you and me. Wake up all you doctors, make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and catch all the hell. But they don't have so very long before the judgment day. So won't you make them happy before they pass away? Wake up all you builders, time to build a new land. I know we can do it if we all lend a hand. The only thing we have to do is put it in our mind. Surely things will work out. They do it every time. Everybody sing. Well, won't get no better if you just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. For you and me. For you and me. For you and me. For you and me. Yeah. The world won't get no better. The hood won't get no better. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me. Everybody say the world won't get. A voice to be heard, rooted in the Lord's word. It is a voice that's concerned for the world.